You're listening to the podcast called What No One Knows. I'm your host, Lisa Marie Garcia. Please join us as I talk with some of the most important influencers, from entrepreneurs to C-suites to founders to venture capitalists. You will want to know their answer to the question, what no one knows. Thank you for joining. All right. Thank you for joining us for another episode of What No One Knows. I am downtown Tampa Bay in the Wave Studio One podcast studios at the Tampa Bay Wave. Very happy that you've joined us to listen in and to watch in for our podcast of What No One Knows. My name is Lisa Marie Garcia, and I'm happy to introduce to you Max Echeverria. And I want to read a little bit of his bio. The rest of it is in the show notes, as you know, as you've been following our podcast here. So Max is the founder and CEO of the company called Eskuad. He leads a no-code filled data platform that works regardless of internet service quality, providing productivity and compliance across supply chains. He has been involved with successfully raising funds, building products, sales and operations, and expanding his market presence in the US and in Chile. And we're going to dig into that because it's very rock star what he's doing. So Max, I'm not going to read the whole bio, as I said, but welcome to the show and thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me here, Lisa.
Thank you. All right. So you know the Tampa Bay Wave as being a part of a cohort, correct?
Yep.
Can you talk about that cohort and give us some kind of dates and some key engagements, like the first time you ever heard of the Tampa Bay Wave? Maybe start there.
I mean, the first time I've heard of the Tampa Bay Wave was through a person that worked at ProChile. ProChile is an office from the Chilean government that helps companies export to other countries and also bring investments back to Chile. So the person that was running the operation in Miami, he told me about the wave and I was interested. And then I noticed one of my, is now a friend, but a person that I knew at the time was part of the previous cohort, and he's from Chile, and we got the same award in 2017. So I contacted him and he told me this is the best program I've ever been so far. I applied. That was in 2020, before the COVID thing.
Well, and as you just said, he said this was the best program. You've been a part of Techstars, you've been a part of Google.
Yeah.
Tell us some of the other accelerator startup programs you've been a part of.
I mean, they all are different, and I can't compare, for example, with Startup Chile because it was fully digital when we passed through it. So it was fully remote. But I believe the difference between Google's program and Techstars and the Wave is the way they run it and the focus. So for example, the focus on Google's was mostly about growing sales and putting you in front of investors, but the main focus was on sales and teaching us how to sell better. Techstars was mostly about hey, you're here, we need to get you here in 3 months. And it was a great cohort. My friends from that program was basically being at the university, but instead of 4 years or a master in 2 years, it was 3 months. Barely sleeping. Yeah, barely sleeping.
Right.
And I believe the Wave is different because it's similar to Techstars in the approach, but it's more like a family. So it's a smaller, it's not a smaller group, but it's more intense only on the founders. So they bring more founders and they get you together with mentors that, in our case, one of our mentors basically took me by the hand and showed me everything I needed to learn to move the company to the US. So I believe that's the main difference, because the Wave being a nonprofit, the incentives are different than others. Other accelerators want you to grow fast and sell the company. Other wants you to grow and hire more people. They all have different incentives, and I believe the Waves is aligned with the city, bringing talent and keeping it here, but also with the long-term success of the company. They're not going to push you to fundraise. They're going to show you can fundraise. So that's probably the difference.
That's It is excellent what you brought up. I hear over and over during these shows, and as part of it, where people say from a cohort or from a mentor or from a board member that it's really the people that is part of the difference, or the people is part of the value, that the quality that the Tampa Bay Wave has. So I appreciate that you brought that up, and I like that the family idea. Would you also agree that the mentorship, as being a cohort, and what the Wave gives you through their leadership is very personalized to what you need in your company versus a, one size fits all?
Yeah, I would agree with that, and it's mostly because of the same nature of the accelerator, because it's mostly about the relationships that you as a founder can create with the mentors or the leadership or everything. And I became friends with like the MD, with part of the acceleration team. I'm friends with a couple of the board members of the Wave. And that was probably because they were mentoring us. It was like a weird time back in the COVID emergency in 2020. And we were here. Not everybody came for that cohort because of the same situation. So we became friends with most of the people that we got involved with. And I believe that's one of the things that created this sense of family for me, because we all care and they all care about me as well, like, and my family and all of that, because I moved to like the US from a foreign country.
Right.
Yeah, so everything was like, yeah, we need to help this guy. He has been super, I mean, we were successful for our stage at the time. That's like that's basic to get into the Wave. Like, you need to be successful for your stage. So we were at that stage, but then like it was a completely different environment, completely different ecosystem for investments and whatever. So
Well, you mentioned it, and I want to have you explain it fully, but you mentioned that you brought your company from Chile to the US market. Where are you now, and what US markets are you in?
So we have people working in Maine, in Atlanta, in Georgia, and here in Florida. But we serve customers like in different locations. We have users in Seattle, in Idaho, in Maine, in Georgia, in different places, because we work with field workers. Like, field operators are mostly in the rural areas of the country, but that's not tied to a specific city. Like, you have like a Fortune 500, let's say in forestry, which is our customer, and they have 4 regions, one in the southeast, one in the east coast, 2 on the west coast. One is like inland west, and the other one is western. But basically, you have people spread out, and you're talking to people in different places. And outside of the US, we also have users all across Chile, and in Peru. We have one in Mexico, and we also have users in Ecuador and Colombia.
So tell us more then about what Eskuad does. What does your product do?
So my background is in industrial engineering, and my dad is in telecom, but he used to run field operations, like technicians connecting copper lines and now optical fiber to antennas, and like giving all the access to internet and stuff like that, and telephone service. And he was running like operations across Chile and also supporting other countries. And that was me growing up. Like, a day at the job was in the field with a helmet, like with my
Running
dad.
copper.
Yeah. And then when I studied industrial engineering, I also did as like a summer gig. I used to take students from high school to trips in the south of Argentina and south of Chile in the Patagonia area. So I needed to report back to their parents on a daily basis. And I was also partying with them because that was part of the trip. So I was basically sleeping like 3 hours, and I needed to report on a daily basis when I'm back at the hotel, because I can't do it in the field.
Right.
So out of that idea, like my experience, then I did an internship in copper mining, and I worked with foresters from my master's degree, like they were my classmates. With all that experience, I noticed there was lack of technology for the field operators who operate in the middle of nowhere and need to collect a lot of data for different people within the organization. Let's say compliance with safety, compliance with labor department, compliance with certification that you're not damaging the environment. And on top of that, your boss is asking you to report like that you are being super efficient,
Right.
like who are with you, like collect all the signatures, pictures, all the backend data. And even like these days, like all those systems are basically broken. You need to use one system to collect the picture, another
Right.
one to create the report, whatever. So we came up with this idea of creating a form builder that is super flexible and it's connected to a reporting system. So basically you can collect everything in one form and automate as much as you can with the sensors of the phones or devices that you can bring with you, and then streamline or automate the reporting to all the other people involved in the process. So that saves a lot of time for the field worker, and that's Eskuad. It's a platform that allows you to do that.
Fantastic. And I did take a look at the platform. Do you have any competition in that space?
I mean, we have a lot, but everything is kind of broken. Like
Right.
we compete at data collection with forms, like Google Forms or
Right.
Pronto Forms. And then we compete with reports, like with Power BI or Excel spreadsheets or other systems. And then we compete with like a lot of different vertical solutions for specific processes. So basically what we found was that if we were to compete with all of them, it wasn't a good strategy.
Right.
So we noticed that our like differentiator was that our product is super useful and easy to use when you're in the field, and when you have like people with presbyopia, fingers with calluses, like in a hard environment, collecting a lot of data. So we decided to make Eskuad like a plugin for all these other systems. So
Yes.
you can turn into offline your ERP system, and then you can turn into like off-road system, your Power BI, whatever. So basically with Eskuad in the front end, in the front line at, like of the operations, you can integrate back with all your systems, and basically you eliminate paper and
Right.
transcription and transformation of data. And basically that's how Eskuad operates.
I love it. From the origins, the classic reason many entrepreneurs, founders get into business, right? Solving a problem. I mean, you saw that, you lived it, your father was in experiencing what was, and you're like, well, I know how we can fix this together. I'm sure it didn't happen overnight.
Yeah, I
But,
didn't know we can solve it, but like we're trying to.
You did. I love it. I love it. And you've got that entrepreneur, that's that entrepreneur trait to solve that. So you said something in your bio that I love, that you said, I'm very passionate about entrepreneurship. So, you are an entrepreneur, obviously, and very successful one. Why do you have a passion for entrepreneurship?
I don't know, like probably because my parents never told me to not do something.
Mhm.
Like if you're gonna do something, do it as best as you can. So like when I was a kid growing up, I remember I was in one school and then we moved to another city. And in the new city, the school didn't have a basketball team, for example. And I wanted to play because I was really good at it when I was young. And I convinced people to create the school team. We convinced the inspector to turn into our coach because he knew something about basketball. So I created that one. Then we started, like I used to play the bass guitar with a band, and we created like these musical breaks in the same high school. So like musicians from the school could like show what they were doing to the rest of the community. And I was always doing like something to solve something that I wanted to do, like that wasn't there.
Right.
And then like looking backwards, like I've noticed that I've like kind of like a go-getter or something. And that's part of the traits of being an entrepreneur. So then looking backwards, I notice I'm actually being an entrepreneur because of the scarcity of things that I wanted to have that I didn't exist. So I went and created them or
Created
convinced people to
yourself.
help me create them. So I believe that's why I'm passionate about it, because I believe that's the way you can change your world, like yours and somebody else's. And then it could be the world if you manage to create something great. Like, but it doesn't have to be like that you're changing the world. It's probably changing your world.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. I love that 100%. And yeah, if there's not a way to get there, and you want to get there, then you have to build the road up
Yeah.
to get there, right? And that's what you did. You kind of imparted what I believe is part of what you communicate when you speak. Because I also read that, you've been a speaker, and I wanted to ask, what is one of the key messages or key action items, or that you speak when you're on stage, and that you share with your audience, would you say?
I mean, I talk about different things depending on the context and the audience and what they want to learn. Because typically I ask them, what do you want to hear from me?
Right.
And then I share something that I know or that I may know. But I believe like one of the things that is core to everything is like, just give it a try. Like that's the message. Like give it a try and see what happens. And even if you're not sure you can do it, like giving it a try, you'll learn what you don't know. You'll learn that what you know currently, and basically you start from there, and then you can keep growing and then decide if you want to do it or not. But at least you gave it a try.
Great message. And it's part of that, what is another characteristic of a great entrepreneur is they're a risk taker, is they will take a chance. And not everyone will do it. Like I said, people will talk themselves out of giving it a try all day long. And then people will also let other people, right, talk them out of trying it. And nothing's, I say this to my daughters, there's no way you can make a decision if you don't try it first. It's really preventative from figuring out right or wrong. So I love that message. Just give it a try is a fantastic message. What I wanted to dig in just a little bit more to, I think that we'd like to know, where you gave some dates, 2017, but as you've built your business, as you've built your team, kind of take us through that, got into the US market, but kind of take someone through that. Okay, step one was identifying that there were some issues there that you wanted to solve. Then you decided to take that step and give it a try to start a business. Kind of take us through just the evolution of your company from there to now.
I mean, in my case, it all started when I was younger, like way younger than this company or even this idea existed in my brain. Because as I told you, I was always trying to like make my way to create stuff that I wanted for myself. So this company basically started from that experience, but I previously founded a couple of other companies. So when I started Eskuad, I was already running an accelerator myself, which I sold to my university, which became the most successful in Chile and also Latam for a while. And that put me in a position where companies were reaching out to me as like the innovator that can help you solve some issue. And that's where I started like noticing a lot of companies were having issues at not knowing what was happening in the field at their operations, or like not having visibility of the current status or something. So basically that was like, oh, this is what I was facing when I was in the mind pit. This same thing I faced with my experience through my classmates, my dad, like all of that. And since I already have that accelerator on the side, I also had a company, like a software company, which I kept because of my previous failure. When we created a company, we didn't have the funds. So we created a company to serve companies and save some money to invest in our own ideas. So I had that company, and I had a developer who's now one of our co-founders at Eskuad, and I code myself. So the two of us decided to give it a try by creating a prototype, like a super basic one. He did the web app that allows you to see the reports, and I created the mobile app that allows you to collect the data with the algorithm that enables the data collection in the remotest places without draining your battery, which is actually what we do in the back. So we created that, and we showed it to foresters that were like talking to us about the problem. And one of them was the deputy manager of the southern operations of the biggest forestry company of Chile, which is like top 5 or so in the world. So it was a big company, and we were like 2 guys. And but the product was solving his problem. So
Right.
we convinced him to let us show it to their users, like
Right.
the loggers and the foresters and the handyman and all of them in the field.
Right.
And they loved it. So then they decided to pay us on a monthly basis. And that's where we came up with the first idea of like, oh, this could be a SaaS, like a software as a
Right.
service, because they're willing to pay on a monthly basis because they want to keep it iterating. So basically, out of that conversation, we figured it out, like we didn't know how to sell it. We didn't know what was the business model or anything. We knew one part, which is like we need to collect data in a simple way, or maybe seamless, whatever. Like, let's give it a try. We solved it, and then we started getting feedback from the users and the manager telling us like, hey, we're willing to pay, but we need to evolve this. Like, is there a plan that we can create with you? And I was like, oh, maybe you can pay per user, and that way we can estimate how much it's gonna come, so we can spend hours on evolving the product. And we started that way, and then other companies reach out to us, and then we notice, oh, this is not a forestry product.
Right,
this
not
is a
just.
product that can be used on maritime environments. And then we started learning that we needed to set up the product in a different way so it can be fully customizable on their end. Otherwise, we can't serve all of them because they're different.
Yep.
So that's how we started, and now we're here. But basically, it was like a set of random interactions
Right.
that we like analyzed, and we realized like, let's give it a try with this model. Didn't work. Let's give it a try with this other one. So basically, that's how we are creating the company.
Well, thanks for taking us through that. And it's again, this idea that there is no straight line, here's my idea, here's exactly how we're going. It's never that way. So
Yeah.
the company, Eskuad came because of this company, that company, and then everything you just described. So it's a great story, and it's a great thing for founders and startup entrepreneurs to understand. And most people that have had businesses they usually have multiple businesses for that exact reason. Like you said, you kept your software company, you weren't able to sell it, so you still had it, that kind of thing, and look what happened with it. So congratulations. I love all that you've told me. I do know something unique. I've interviewed other cohorts, but something unique about you that I just recently learned in your company is that you guys were chosen as the part of the Hall of Fame awards from the Tampa Bay Wave for 2023. Is that right? Or was it?
Yeah, 20.
Right. So tell us what that is, what that involves, and how you were recognized there.
I mean, for me, first of all, it's always cool to say that you're part of a Hall of Fame.
That's right. Right.
So,
sports or no sports.
Yeah. So I didn't get to it as a player, but I got to it as an entrepreneur. That said, the way the Tampa Bay Wave created it is super cool because it creates some milestones that you look up to. So, for example, we got into the first milestone, which is crossing the $1 million in fundraising or ARR, like annual recurrent revenue. And we got that one, which is the bronze level. But then if you get up to the next level, is because you either raise way more or sold way more. And then there's another one. So basically, the way they created it is like you can look up to other founders that are in front of you in the founders ladder, if I may, for the Waves Hall of Fame. So it's cool because then you can go talk to them, and because they already passed through your problems, probably like, hey, how did you manage to fundraise this at this stage? What were your metrics at this stage? And they can help you with that. And now you know who they are because they were awarded like the next milestone award. And also for the ones that are coming, it's basically like, oh, these are the milestones that probably you should look up to in order to grow your business. I mean, all the roads are different, like the paths are different, but at least you know, like, oh, if I'm doing this, I'm closer to this group of people.
Right.
So how do I get there? And like the how to is different for everybody. But at least you know, like, if I'm here, I'm probably able to talk to these investors, let's say, or I'm in a situation where I talk to these kind of companies to sell the product. So basically, that's why I like about the Hall of Fame, and also like the cool name that they came up with.
The cool name and the cool award. It looks really good. I was just looking at them. Actually, the next Hall of Fame is December 11th, 2024, I learned. So look at the Tampa Bay Wave has a new website. So go to the new website if you're interested in knowing more about the Hall of Fame, for those of you that are with us. And the good news, bad news is that we're almost out of time. I knew this would go fast. You have so much to share, and thank you for what you have shared. But I'm going to ask you our last question, which is always our brand question of our podcast. So, Max, what is something that you can share about you? Now, we know your love of sports, and that has kind of already come up. No, I'm just kidding. Answer the question of what no one knows about you.
I believe no one knows that I'm actually, like, when I was growing up, I was super shy. I was a nerd. I mean, I'm still a nerd,
You're
but
so nerd.
but I learned other skills by playing sports, because then, for example, first time my dad went to watch me play, I was nervous because he was watching me. So then I overcame that, and now I'm comfortable talking in front of a lot of people. Probably that's a skill that I developed by playing sports. And same with like relationships with others, like how to manage groups, all of that probably came from me putting myself in an uncomfortable situation. Like, and then I became the captain. And like in the beginning, I was sitting on the bench and not talking to much people. So, and the captain is not for the best player, is the one that actually can lead the team towards the goal. Could be because you're the best defender, or it could be because you're something else. So you learn how to figure out what's your skill set, where you can like provide more value to your team, and then like try to be the best at it. So I believe that's something that helped me through everything I've done.
That's fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for being our guest on What No One Knows in the Tampa Bay Wave offices. And keep it up. I think you're like going to be very soon the next level and the next level and the next level
I'm
of Hall of Fame. I'll see you on December 11th then. All right. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to our show, What No One Knows. If you'd like more information regarding our guests, it's in the description below, as well as if you'd like to work with our publishing and promotion team, that you can also find in the links. Thank you.